mission in East Central Africa, a mission bike ride on the border between Papua New Guinea and Indonesia, and Adventist-Jewish relations. All this and much more coming up next. Hello and welcome to Mission 360. I'm Gary Krause. As you can see, today's program is coming to you from Jerusalem, Israel. And behind me you can see the Dome of the Rock, which is very sacred to the Islamic tradition. And underneath it is what is called the Temple Mount. And this is very sacred also to Jewish people because this is the site of the Jewish temples. And in fact, you can see the Western Wall is like a retaining wall from Herod's temple. And today, as they have for hundreds of years, Jewish people come to pray there, to share their sorrows, to share their requests, to thank God for His provisions to them. Well, on today's program, we're going to travel all over the world. We're going to talk about what's happening here in Israel. But first up, we go to East Central Africa.
Around the world, Adventist education exists for more than academic success. It's a ministry that shapes minds, builds character, and creates places where faith, learning, and service meet. In communities of many backgrounds and beliefs, Adventist schools become bridges of trust and hope. On the island of Zanzibar, that mission is taking shape through Zanzibar Adventist Academy. What began in 2013 as a small school with just a few students has grown steadily over the years. Today, the campus serves more than 170 children, welcoming families from various faith groups who are united by a shared desire for quality education and strong values. Here, education is holistic. Children are not only taught reading, writing, and mathematics, but also compassion, discipline, and responsibility. From the earliest nursery years through primary grades, the school focuses on developing the whole child, mind, body, and spirit.
We thank God for His protection from when our school was started up to now.
Those words reflect more than gratitude for growth. They point to God's faithfulness and to the quiet impact Adventist education can have in places where opportunity is limited and hope is deeply needed. On an island where less than 1% of the population is Christian, every classroom is an opportunity to model Christ's love through patience, excellence, and service. And the impact on every student affects their families and communities as well. Because of faithful support, schools like Zanzibar Adventist Academy continue to grow, offering children a safe place to learn and a glimpse of God's love in action. Your faithful support of the mission offering helps Adventist schools around the world reach hearts and minds. In classrooms like these, education becomes a gift shared with an entire community, one that continues long after the school day ends.
My guest today is Dr. Ronaldo Siqueira, who is the director of the Center for Adventist Jewish Relations based here in Jerusalem. Ronaldo, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
Now, we're situated here looking at this, the wall here of Jerusalem. Can you just point out some of the sites that we can see here?
Well, what you see here is the old city, part
Right.
of the old city of Jerusalem, you know. This tower here, they call it the Tower of David.
Uh-huh.
Actually, it's by the side of one gate, one of the gates of the old city, which is the name Jaffa Gate. There was a road that would go from here to Job, biblical Job.
Oh, where
Which in
Jonah
Hebrew
went.
is Jaffa, you know.
Okay.
So this is, but this tower, they call it with David, but it's not related to David. It was one of the tower of the Herod's palace
Ah,
here in old Jerusalem.
King Herod.
Yeah, King Herod of the Bible, you know. And that his palace will go all this way until almost here, the end of the wall. And then what we see there is what is called Mount Zion.
Mount Zion.
In this church here and there, where the cenacle was, disciples took the Last Supper with Jesus, and also the tomb of David, King David, are traditionally located.
Okay.
We are not sure that was there,
Right.
but tradition says was this part of Mount Zion.
Oh, very interesting. And the valley behind us here.
The valley behind here is a beautiful valley today with many trees, many artists and things that. But this was the valley of the valley of Hinnom, you know, which was the valley where they have the trash being burned day and night.
So in English, Gehenna.
In Hebrew, Gehinnom. In English, is Gehenna.
Yeah.
It became symbol of hell. But today is not like hell.
Right.
It's a very nice place, you know.
Right.
And there's not much.
So when the Bible talks about hell, it's because of the fires that were burning it. But they did go out.
They go out, you see, it did not last forever.
Right, exactly. And you also were telling me earlier that this is where they sometimes sacrifice children to
Yeah.
Moloch.
In the Bible, before the destruction of Jerusalem by the Babylonians, they say that this place here was used to have the worship of Moloch, where they sacrificed children, burning the children alive to this god. It was one of the reasons for the destruction of the city at the time.
Wow. So Ronaldo, you're the director of the Center for Adventist Jewish Relations. Why is it important to have those relations?
Well, you see, I think that when we look at the Bible, you know, we see different for what usually human beings think, you know, that religion or God is a need of human being, as creation of human being, that man is after God.
Right.
That's why he needs religion. But in the Bible, it's the reverse. It's always God who is after man.
Okay.
You know, God in search of man. There's a famous book by one rabbi, Abraham Heschel, that lived in the United States, that has exactly this type. In the Bible, it's always God who searches man. He goes after. He went after man in the Garden of Eden, searching for man. He went after man when he's, you know, many different ways, talk with men, trying to approach man to himself. He does it through the Holy Spirit, through the influence of the angels. But one of the main ways to go after man, as God goes after man, is through his emissaries. It happens with Abraham. He left his land, came here to become a blessing.
Yes.
And you'll be blessed, all the families of the world, you know. It happens with the people of Israel as a nation, influence other people around. It flashes with the prophets, you know. And God said, who should I send? Who will go for us? And then Isaiah said in chapter 6, here I am, Lord, send me, I will go. Huh? So this is usually the way God reach out to people who represent him truly. his character to love, his desire for redemption, to help people, to bless people, you know. And so this is a desire of God for everyone. As Jesus said, go to all the nations, you know. But one of the nations of people that God always also took care of is the Jewish people.
Yes.
We saw this in the Bible. We saw this in Jesus' life. He came personally to do it, you know. And we saw it through the apostles, you know. So there is a beautiful passage in the prophet Isaiah, chapter 40, where they say, the emissary of God in the end of time, who prepares the way for the Lord for the second coming, when he will appear in glory, you know, he also has this ministry to bring consolation to Jerusalem.
Comfort my people.
Comfort my people. Speaking tenderly, you know. So many people do the rash way, you know,
Right.
with violence, represent God to violence. This is not God.
No.
God is the God of love, of tender actions toward men, of redemption, of well-being. And we must represent him in this way to everyone else, but also to the Jewish people.
Beautiful. Now, Ronaldo, for many years you've been a biblical scholar. You've had relations with lots of Jewish people around the world. What have you learned from your experience?
Well, one thing that really is very important, and that I learned, is that Judaism always have a diversity inside itself. You know? It's not a block unified, everyone believes and acts the same way. There's diverse beliefs, ways of life, you know, the way they approach life and thinking, relationship with people. And so it's important to know that they are very diverse.
Yes.
You know, and you meet different people. But this diversity does not exist only now, but it exists in the time of Jesus.
That's right.
And the time of Jesus, there are different religious groups, and even the New Testament speak about that. The Sadducees, the priests, we found now the Dead Sea Scrolls, so these are the Essenes, you know. We have people who are more in the violence, like the Zealots, you know. They are prone to fight, you know. But you have also the Pharisees. Jewish tradition says that in the time of the destruction of the Second Temple in Jerusalem by the Romans, there were 24 different Jewish religious groups.
Oh.
Okay? But what's interesting, Gary, it's this very impressive for me, the major ones who survives, which is Rabbinical Judaism, one section of it, you know, and Christianity, who was a Jewish movement at the time, were those who are seeking after peace and not war.
Ah, that's beautiful.
The two ones who survived. And these are two ones who were very close to each other. Even the time, some of them became believers in Jesus, like Paul. Some others, like Nicodemus, Joseph Arimathea, they are part of this group, you know. But many of them who did not become have sympathies to Christianity, like, you know, Gamaliel, like the Pharisee section that defended Paul in his judgment in the Sanhedrin, you know. And so what is interesting that I find is that when you really get to know each other, we see that these two groups are very close indeed.
Beautiful.
You know?
Ronaldo, I could listen to you all day. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And viewers at home, it's beautiful to hear the richness of Jewish heritage that we are indebted to as followers of Jesus today. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to Jerusalem. And behind me, behind these walls, is the old city of Jerusalem. And it's divided up into 4 quarters. The Jewish quarter, the Christian quarter, the Armenian quarter, and the Muslim quarter. And the Lion's Gate here is one of 7 open gates leading into the old city, and this leads into the Muslim quarter. It's also of significance for some Christians because traditionally this has been seen as the starting point for the Via Dolorosa, or the pathway that Jesus took from prison right through to the cross.
Welcome back to Mission 360 TV. Today we're going to have a discussion about culture, about worldviews, about the importance of understanding those when interacting with people from different cultures that may not hold the same basis for understanding that you do. So I'd like to welcome Ron. Thank you for joining and being willing to explain a little bit to us what the importance of all these things are, how you're involved in it. Can you, just to start, give us a little description of who you are and what you do?
Thank you, Caleb. It's an honor to be here with you and seeing you again. I'm Ron Kuhn. I'm an associate director for the Institute of World Mission, and we serve the church by training the international workforce, let's put it this way, families that go across the globe. Our main task as Institute of World Mission is to prepare people to serve cross-culturally, also to provide training for volunteers, materials, etc.
Do you have any story of maybe someone that you've seen maybe a similar impact that you experienced when going to these different cultures, and like that light bulb that goes off that you realize, oh, the world isn't quite what I thought it was? As soon as you get that perspective, what have you seen?
Yes, there are a few things you sometimes get surprised. Oh, I didn't expect that I would eat with my hands when I first arrived in Sudan. In the beginning, you eat with your hands, but then you get used to always wash your hands before, wash it well with soap before you eat. Oh, so very soon you say, oh, this is cleaner than using forks and knives and spoons, because you know how you washed your hands. You don't know how somebody has washed it. So that shows how our brain get used to certain things, and we kind of say, no, that's not the right way. Well, no, it is the way cultural values and many of those things is not about right and wrong. It is about the way you were brought up. Of course, the Bible, the gospel brings balance to all aspects, because there are many, we would say, distorted aspects of cultural values that, according to the Bible, we want to improve. We don't want to stay there. But there was an experience I remember about a clear example of how we misunderstand things sometimes based on our culture. We think the way we do things is the way everybody does. No, different cultures do things differently. And I remember asking one time at Mission Institute, and there was a table with a German pilot and a Korean pastor, among others. So I asked the German pilot, when you disagree with your immediate supervisor in Germany, if you disagree, what would you do? And the German pilot say, well, very easy. I go and talk to my boss, and I say, well, why don't we do this and this way? And I said, and so what? How do the boss generally respond? So he said, well, the boss might say, oh, no, we don't want that idea. We don't like it. Or we have tried that, doesn't work. Or, we may want to consider it one day. But so you see the direct approach, both ways, a direct way. So there are many other cultures that are very different ways. So I asked the Korean pastor, if you disagree with your immediate supervisor, what would you do? So the Korean pastor said, he stopped. By the way, he knew a lot about the West because he was married to an American Korean lady. But still he stopped and he paused, and he said, after a few seconds thinking, he said, I would speak to my father, who knows the uncle of my boss. And my father is older than the uncle of my boss, who is also older than my boss. And then the uncle of my boss will talk to my boss. So that was a big eye-opening. There are cultures that have different ways to address confrontation or just simply address an older person. So in certain cultures, equality is no problem. You are equal. Doesn't matter your age. It doesn't matter if you're the boss or not. Yeah, I respect my boss, but the culture gives you permission to talk directly with the boss. There are cultures very indirect. So it's not about the right and wrong. It is what is appropriate in that culture.
Yeah, that's powerful. I'm glad that we have something that the Adventist Church has an avenue to teach this intercultural working. So I thank you for your work and your training over the years, and I hope we can have you on again to tell us more stories or just more teaching. But Ron, thank you. I know it's short, but we appreciate you sharing. And viewers at home, I hope you've caught like a little nugget and maybe now can look at your own life or the culture, the people that you deal with around, that even in the small ways, how can you interact with them in a way that reaches them on their level and that you can reach them for Jesus. Thank you for watching and enjoy this next mission story.
I'm in the Garden of Gethsemane here on the Mount of Olives in Jerusalem. And as you walk along here, you can't help but think of what happened more than 2,000 years ago when Jesus came here. And I was just reading these verses again in Matthew chapter 26 when it says, "Then Jesus came with them to a place called Gethsemane and said to the disciples, 'Sit here while I go and pray over there.' And he took with him Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, and he began to be sorrowful and deeply distressed." We can only imagine the extent of that distress. Next up, we travel to Papua New Guinea, where we see people sharing the love of Jesus right on the border with Indonesia in a unique way.
At the edge of two nations, where the road disappears and the jungle takes over, entire communities live unseen and unheard. Most people will never set foot there, but for Pastor Obed, that's exactly where the journey had to begin, on two wheels. In 2022, he had an opportunity to visit a border community between his country, Papua New Guinea, and neighboring Indonesia.
There is no government services, especially the infrastructure like road, hospitals, or clinics and schools. And it's a challenge. Pity for the people living out there. They has been like marginalized and been forgotten by the countries, both countries, Indonesia and Papua New Guinea.
This situation deeply touched Pastor Obed's heart. He knew he couldn't just walk away. He had to do something.
So it's where I felt emotion and sorry for them. And that's where I mobilized boys to reach out to the unreached villages along the border areas.
Pastor Obed gathered his friends and told them about the needs at the border. They wanted to help, but in a way that combined their passion for ministry and their love for biking. So they decided to use their bikes as instruments for mission. With prayer and excitement, they packed up and started riding, determined to reach the unreached along this border. It was an adventure filled with purpose and blessing.
When we ride and pass through the villages along the borders, what we do is we arrive at the villages, we greet them, meet them, we say the literatures to them, Bibles and other Christian literatures, and then we also share Jesus Christ with them. And then if we have any lollies or something to give to the children, just to make their day and brighten their days, because they are cut off from the outside world, some of them.
Imagine living far from anyone when someone arrives showing love and genuine concern. It touches hearts and opens doors for deeper connection.
Most of those villages that we pass through and we approach, they are not Adventist villages. So when we arrive at those villages, they cry and literally tears come down, and they cry and they welcome us into their community. And they feed us, and we sing for them, and we share Jesus Christ with them. And they ask us to build our church onto their land and also open or run their school on their village, in their village.
Biking through thick jungles and savannas, untouched by most people, carrying bikes over swamps, rivers, and climbing hills is a serious challenge. Yet Pastor Obed and his team press on, facing every obstacle with courage and faith. They know the risks, but choose to go anyway, trusting God to lead the way.
Pray for us and pray for the people that we will be ministering to, and that Holy Spirit will use us to evangelize, to bring gospel message of Jesus Christ to our brothers and sisters along the border areas and beyond the borders.
Thank you for supporting Mission. Your prayers and contributions bring hope, love, and the message of Jesus to the farthest places on earth.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on today's program. And as always, I hope that you've been inspired and challenged by what you've seen and heard with our program coming here from Jerusalem and Israel, and as we've also seen other parts of the world where mission is going forward. And I want to thank you so much for what you do to make that happen. Thank you so much for your mission offerings, your donations to Global Mission, and most important, thank you for your prayers each day for frontline workers. Well, for Adventist Mission, I'm Gary Krause, and I hope that you can join me next time right here on Mission 360.